The morning sky over Varela 9 was a pale violet, streaked with thin clouds that glowed like silver threads. The planet was known across several star systems as unforgiving, dangerous, and beautiful. Sharp mountains jutted out like jagged teeth. Rivers ran wild with foaming water, and forests stretched endlessly, their trees twisting in strange, impossible shapes. For most alien species, such a place was a test they would avoid if they could. But the military academy built here had a purpose: to train warriors who could survive anything. A transport ship glided down slowly, its engines humming softly as it approached the landing pad. Inside, a group of alien students pressed their faces against the transparent walls of the cabin. Each one came from a different corner of the galaxy. There were the Quaralians, whose skin shimmered like liquid crystal, the Rethan with their 6 limbs and sharp claws, the Valari, who could manipulate energy fields, and several others, all known for intelligence and skill. They had trained their entire lives, but only in controlled environments, simulation chambers, zero-gravity obstacle courses, and computerized battle exercises. They had never faced a world as unpredictable as Varela 9. Despite the planet's reputation, the aliens felt confident. They whispered and laughed among themselves. "These humans," said a Quaralian named Fira, her voice melodic but dripping with disdain. "They survive here without advanced shields? Pathetic. I wonder why the Academy bothers with them at all." A Valari named Sirek nodded, a faint glow pulsing along his arms. "They say humans are tough," he said, "but that toughness is primitive. Strength without strategy is meaningless. Wait until they see our training. They will look like insects crawling in the dirt." At the back of the cabin sat a human cadet. His face was calm, almost unreadable. He was shorter than most of the aliens, not heavily muscled, but there was a quiet steadiness in his eyes. He did not respond to the insults, nor did he join in their mockery. Instead, he watched silently as the purple mountains of Varela 9 grew closer, the wind outside shaking the transport slightly. When the ship landed with a gentle thud, the aliens practically leapt out, their excitement mixed with arrogance. They strutted across the landing pad, their movements precise and calculated. The human cadet followed behind, carrying only a small pack. Unlike the aliens, he did not rush. He allowed his eyes to sweep over the landscape, noting the uneven rocks, the shifting shadows, and the smell of wild, untamed forests. The academy itself was a vast structure, built from dark stone and reinforced metal. Towers stretched high, observation decks lined with sensors glimmered, and training fields sprawled as far as the eye could see. It was designed to be challenging, both physically and mentally. The instructors, a mix of humans and alien veterans, greeted the cadets with nods and firm handshakes. "Welcome," said Commander Lyra, a human with sharp eyes and a calm presence. "This academy does not rely on shields or comfort. You will face the planet as it is. Only those who adapt survive. Remember, Varela 9 does not care about species, rank, or reputation." The aliens exchanged smirks. "Survive? We have survived worse in simulation," Pyrrha whispered to Sirek. "This will be easy." The human cadet simply nodded once, not saying a word. He knew survival on Deathworlds was not about arrogance. It was about awareness, patience, and adaptability. Their first orientation included a tour of the academy and a briefing on the planet's hazards. The instructors explained that the mountains were prone to sudden rock slides. The rivers could flood without warning, and the forests were home to predators that could sense vibrations in the ground. Alien technology often failed in extreme conditions, while humans had a reputation for improvising with whatever was at hand. Most of the alien cadets dismissed these warnings. They walked through the forested training area with energy shields activated, gadgets humming and sensors scanning. "This is trivial," Sirek said, floating above the ground slightly using his anti-gravity boots. "I could navigate this blindfolded." Fira's laugh echoed through the trees. "And yet humans wander these worlds without any of this. How do they not die instantly?" The human cadet followed a step behind, his boots crunching on the leaf-strewn ground. He observed the terrain carefully. He saw loose rocks, hidden roots, and tracks of small creatures. He also noticed how the aliens ignored these details, relying on their shields and tech to protect them. Later, the cadets gathered in a central training hall. Large holoscreens displayed the map of Varela 9, highlighting training zones, wildlife hotspots, and natural hazards. The instructors explained that the next exercise would be a survival trek through one of the most dangerous regions, a valley known for sudden floods and aggressive predators. The aliens' excitement grew. "A walk in the park," one of them said, scanning the map with their mental interface. "We know all we need to know." Commander Lyra raised an eyebrow. "Knowledge is not survival. Experiences. We'll see which of you learns quickly." As the sun dipped low behind the mountains, casting long shadows across the training grounds, the alien cadets continued to boast among themselves. They compared physical stats, gadgets, and strategies, completely ignoring the human cadet. He stayed quiet, checking his gear, packing light, and reviewing the route in his mind. He thought about the worst-case scenarios: sudden storms, predators, and unstable ground. He did not have fancy technology, but he had experience and instincts honed on planets harsher than Varela 9. That night, the aliens tried to sleep in a training barracks. Some could not adjust to the sounds of the forest outside, the rustle of giant leaves, the distant roar of unseen creatures, and the shifting of the ground beneath the roots. They tossed and turned, convinced the human cadet would struggle as well. But he slept soundly, his body accustomed to danger, his mind alert even in rest. The next morning, the instructors gathered the cadets at the edge of the valley. A fast-moving river cut through jagged rocks and dense forest lined the slopes. The wind carried a sharp scent, a mixture of wet stone and wild flora. "Your exercise begins," Commander Lyra said. "Make your way through the valley and reach the designated point on the other side. You may encounter predators, unstable terrain, or other hazards. Your performance will be evaluated on adaptability, teamwork, and problem-solving." The aliens immediately activated their shields and devices. Their steps were calculated, precise, almost mechanical. "Watch and learn," Sirek said, hovering above the ground. "This is how superior beings move." The human cadet stepped forward, taking careful but unhurried steps. He examined the rocks, tested branches for stability, and watched the patterns of animal movement from a distance. He carried no shield, only a standard survival pack. The alien students continued to mock him quietly. "He looks like he will fall in the river first," Fira whispered. The cadet ignored them. He understood that arrogance and overconfidence could be fatal. The valley was unpredictable and nature had no patience for pride. As they progressed, the first warning signs appeared. Loose rocks tumbled under the aliens' heavy boots, their energy shields sometimes sparking when they hit jagged stone. A sudden gust of wind knocked one of the Rethan off balance. The human cadet adjusted instantly, using a tree branch to steady himself and continue forward. The aliens barely noticed, still too absorbed in showing off. "See? Nothing serious," Fira said, brushing dust from her crystalline skin. But the valley had other plans. From a distance, the cadets heard a low rumble, a warning of shifting rocks higher up the mountainside. The ground trembled and dust rose in the air. The human cadet immediately recognized the signs of an imminent rock slide. He yelled a warning to the aliens, but many were too focused on their devices to hear. The first rocks crashed down, forcing the alien cadets to scramble. Energy shields flickered under the impact. Some fell, others were forced to retreat. The human cadet moved swiftly, predicting where the rocks would fall, using small rocks and natural cover to shield himself, and finally guiding a few struggling aliens to safer ground. When the chaos settled, the aliens were shaken, their confidence rattled. They looked at the human cadet in a mixture of surprise and confusion. He had saved some of them without gadgets, without shields, relying only on awareness, instinct, and calm thinking. Fira's voice was quiet now, lacking its usual arrogance. How did you—" The cadet did not answer. He only continued forward, eyes scanning, mind alert. He knew this valley would demand more than strength or intelligence. It would demand respect for the world itself. And that was a lesson the alien cadets had not yet learned. On a death world, pride could be more dangerous than any predator. The morning sun painted the valley in gold and orange, but the beauty of Varela 9 was deceptive. Every shadow hinted at danger. Every sound could mean a predator or a sudden collapse. The alien cadets emerged from their barracks, rubbing their eyes and adjusting their gear. Many had been restless during the night, still shaken from the rock slide they had experienced yesterday. Their confidence was beginning to show cracks, though most refused to admit it. The human cadet walked calmly beside them. He carried only a light pack, and his boots were worn from many worlds harsher than this. He moved deliberately, scanning the terrain with practiced eyes. Unlike the aliens, he did not need advanced sensors or shields to understand the world around him. Commander Lyra stood at the edge of the forest, her voice carrying over the group. Today's exercise is a survival trek through the Red Spire Ridge. The terrain is unstable, the creatures aggressive, and the weather unpredictable. Remember, this is a test of adaptability and resourcefulness. Your gadgets will help, but instinct and awareness may help more. The alien cadets exchanged smirks and whispered among themselves. Instincts? We have intelligence, Sirek said, hovering slightly above the ground. Instinct is for prey, not predators, Fira laughed. I cannot wait to see these humans stumble. It will be entertaining. The human cadet said nothing. He already knew that the ridge was a different kind of challenge. He had studied the terrain map carefully. Loose rock formations, sudden slopes, hidden dens of predators, and unpredictable weather patterns all demanded respect. He took careful steps, testing the ground before committing his weight, watching how the wind shifted and how shadows moved. As the group moved into the Red Spire Ridge, the differences between humans and aliens became clear. The aliens relied heavily on their gadgets. Some had energy shields, some scanned constantly with sensors, and others carried packs full of devices designed for any imaginable situation. They moved quickly, confident that technology would protect them. But the terrain had other plans. The path was narrow, the edges sharp and unforgiving. A sudden gust of wind sent one Rethan cadet stumbling, his 6 limbs flailing. The Valari Sirek's floating boots sputtered, forcing him to grip a jagged rock to avoid falling. The human cadet stopped, extending a hand to steady the Rethan. Careful. That ledge is loose, he said calmly. The Rethan looked at him, confused, and accepted the help. For a moment he forgot the arrogance he had shown the day before. Further along, the group reached a narrow canyon, the walls towering above like stone giants. From deep within the shadows came a low growl. The aliens stiffened, activating shields and scanning devices. The human cadet crouched, listening, analyzing the vibrations in the rock beneath his feet. A pair of shadowed creatures emerged, 6-legged, agile, with teeth like jagged crystal. The aliens panicked, trying to scan and shield simultaneously, their movements jerky and uncoordinated. The creatures dodged energy pulses, attacking unpredictably. The human cadet reacted instinctively. He used a simple trap, a fallen branch and a rock, placing it carefully to block the path and redirect the creatures. With swift, precise movements, he guided them away from the aliens. Some cadets looked on in disbelief, unable to understand how he could succeed without advanced technology. Impressive, Fira muttered under her breath, though she hid it behind a frown. But the ridge was only getting more difficult. The air grew thin, the winds sharper, and the ground beneath their feet unstable. A sudden rockslide began higher up the cliffs, sending boulders crashing toward the group. Many of the aliens froze, uncertain of what to do. Their shields deflected some rocks, but the sheer speed and unpredictability of the slide left several cadets exposed. The human cadet reacted instantly. He assessed the fall pattern, led a few cadets to a safer route, and used natural formations as cover. No technology guided him, only observation, experience, and quick thinking. By the time the boulders had finished tumbling, a few alien cadets were bruised, shaken, and humbled. The group continued along the ridge, moving slower now. The aliens began to notice how differently the human approached each obstacle. He tested every foothold, predicted predator behavior, and avoided danger rather than confronting it recklessly. He moved efficiently, saving energy, and adjusting to the environment naturally. During a brief pause, Sirek approached him. How are you so prepared? You have no special devices, no shields. How do you survive here? The human cadet shrugged lightly. Experience. Training only teaches what you can imagine. The planet teaches what you cannot imagine. Sirek frowned, clearly uncomfortable. This was not the answer he expected. Most of the alien cadets had relied on predictable strategies. They had never needed to improvise in the wild. The next challenge came without warning. Dark clouds rolled in rapidly and the wind intensified. Rain began to fall in sheets, turning rocks into slick traps and rivers into rushing torrents. Some alien cadets struggled to maintain balance. Their shields and sensors were affected by the weather, blinking intermittently, giving false readings or cutting out entirely. The human cadet moved steadily, reading the terrain carefully. He tested rocks before stepping, found solid branches to balance on, and avoided rushing water. He also helped several alien cadets, teaching them simple techniques: distribute weight, use natural handholds, and observe the water's speed before crossing. Many aliens struggled to adapt, frustrated that their gadgets failed them at the worst possible moment. By midday, the group reached a cliff overlooking a wide gorge. A narrow path wound along the edge, precarious and dangerous. Some aliens balked, hesitant to move. The human cadet took the lead, carefully measuring each step using the natural contours of the rock to maintain balance. A few cadets followed, still relying on shields but gradually imitating his methods. Suddenly, a creature dropped from the cliffs above, a massive predator with wings like a bat and claws sharp as blades. The aliens panicked, trying to activate shields and attack simultaneously. Their movements were chaotic, uncoordinated. The human cadet, anticipating the creature's path, used a combination of agility and clever positioning. He led the predator away from the group, using the environment as a trap. A falling rock and a narrow ledge guided the predator past the alien safely. Once again, he had succeeded without technology, relying on skill, observation, and instinct. The aliens were stunned. Even those who had mocked him yesterday could not deny his ability to survive. Their arrogance was slowly giving way to admiration and unease. By late afternoon, the human cadet had led the group through nearly half the ridge. Many aliens were exhausted, their gadgets failing, their pride dented. Some whispered among themselves, finally realizing that surviving a death world was not about intelligence or advanced technology alone. It was about awareness, adaptability, and courage. Fira, usually quick with sarcasm, remained silent for the first time. Sirek, still hovering slightly above the ground, avoided looking at the human cadet directly. Even the bravest among them began to follow his lead, mimicking his cautious steps and measured decisions. The day ended with the group finding shelter under a natural rock overhang. They huddled together as rain continued to pour. The human cadet unpacked his modest supplies and offered assistance to anyone who needed it. Unlike the aliens, he had learned long ago that pride could be deadly in the wild. Cooperation and observation were just as important as strength. That night, as the wind howled outside and strange cries echoed through the valley, the alien cadets sat in silence. Some were still arrogant, refusing to admit their mistakes, but most were thoughtful, reflecting on the humans' actions. One by one, they realized that survival on a death world demanded more than clever strategies or gadgets. It required respect for the planet, sharp instincts, and experience forged through hardship. The human cadet lay down to rest, listening to the sounds of the forest. He knew the ridge would grow more dangerous tomorrow. Predators would be more aggressive, and the terrain would demand even more ingenuity. But he was ready, and he knew that the alien cadets, arrogant as they were beginning to learn what it truly meant to survive. For the first time, some of the aliens felt the weight of reality. On a death world, arrogance could be lethal, but skill, patience, and adaptability could make a simple human cadet appear like a legend. The morning on Varela 9 began with a tense silence. The alien cadets moved slowly, each step cautious after the lessons of the previous day. The Red Spire Ridge was not forgiving, and the humans' calm confidence was a constant reminder that arrogance could cost them dearly. The human cadet walked steadily at the front, his eyes scanning the jagged terrain, noticing every small detail the aliens seemed to miss. "Remember," Commander Lyra had said, "the planet does not forgive mistakes. It tests those who walk on it." Today's challenge was no longer just about endurance. It would test courage, observation, and adaptability. The group moved into a narrow canyon, walls rising steeply on either side. Loose stones littered the ground, and the shadows of the cliffs made it hard to see far ahead. A quiet growl echoed somewhere in the depths of the canyon. The alien cadets immediately activated their gadgets, scanning for predators. Their shields hummed, energy readings flickered, and lights blinked nervously. "Don't rely on devices alone," the human cadet said softly, though he did not raise his voice. Some aliens looked at him surprised. The cadet did not shout commands or show off. He simply observed the angle of shadows, the faint vibrations in the rock, and the smell of the air. As they moved, a sudden flash of movement startled the group. A predator, a six-legged armored beast with a horned face, charged from a hidden alcove. The aliens panicked. Some fired energy pulses, others tried to raise shields, but the creature dodged with terrifying agility. Several cadets stumbled, their advanced devices unable to respond quickly enough. The human cadet acted instantly. He grabbed a fallen branch and placed it across a narrow path, using it as a simple lever to trip the predator's momentum. The creature tumbled into a small pit, momentarily confused. He then guided the panicked aliens to a safer path, moving with calm precision. The aliens stared, unable to believe that such a simple method could work where technology failed. Fira's mouth opened to speak, but no words came. Sirek hovered silently, a faint glow pulsing along his arms. They had begun to realize that raw intelligence and advanced tech were not always enough. Further along, the canyon narrowed, and a rushing river blocked their path. The water was faster than it looked, and the rocks beneath were slick. Many alien cadets hesitated, debating whether to activate their shields or risk crossing. Some attempted to jump across and slipped, barely catching themselves on the rocks. The human cadet stepped forward. He tested the rocks carefully, moving slowly, calculating each step. He found a large flat stone and with a small stick, balanced it to create a stable step across the water. Then he guided the aliens, teaching them simple techniques: how to distribute their weight, how to anticipate shifts in water flow, and how to use the environment to their advantage. By the time they reached the far side, several aliens were soaked, bruised, and exhausted. For the first time, their arrogance was replaced by a grudging respect. They could no longer dismiss the human as weak or primitive. The group continued along the ridge. Trees grew thickly here, their roots tangled and strong. A sudden movement in the trees above revealed another predator, a flying creature with razor-sharp talons. It swooped down, aiming for an alien cadet. The group froze, unsure of how to react. The human cadet did not hesitate. He used his surroundings, a tree branch as a distraction, a pile of stones as a barrier. He moved swiftly, positioning himself between the predator and the cadet in danger. The creature screeched and flew back, confused by the simple but effective tactics. The alien cadet looked at him in awe, realizing that survival required not only strength but clever use of the environment. The day grew hotter as they moved deeper into the ridge. The air was thin and the sun reflected off the jagged rocks, making it hard to see. The aliens began to struggle with stamina, relying on energy boosters and shields to continue. Many of their devices flickered under the stress of heat and friction. The human cadet, however, moved steadily. He rested when needed, conserved energy, and used natural shade to avoid overexertion. His simple water pack was enough, and he drank carefully, planning for the long trek ahead. He was patient, observant, and always alert. By midday, they reached a narrow ledge along the cliffside. The path was barely 2 feet wide, with a drop into the canyon below. A misstep could be fatal. The alien cadets hesitated, unsure of how to proceed. They tried to rely on hovering boots, energy shields, or levitation devices, but each attempt seemed clumsy, dangerous, or awkward. The human cadet walked confidently along the ledge, testing each foothold, adjusting his weight, and using the wall for balance. One by one, he guided the aliens, demonstrating how simple awareness and careful planning could replace technology. "Why didn't we think of this?" whispered one of the Coralians, her crystal-like skin glimmering faintly in the sunlight. The human cadet said nothing. He only continued, eyes scanning for hazards, ears tuned to the sounds of the ridge, mind constantly evaluating risk. As the sun began to dip lower, the group entered a dense forest at the edge of the ridge. The ground was soft and uneven, roots protruding like hidden traps. A low rumble echoed through the trees. Suddenly, a large predator burst from the underbrush, massive, armored, with eyes that glowed in the fading light. The aliens panicked. Their gadgets malfunctioned in the dense canopy, and shields flickered inconsistently. The human cadet reacted instinctively. He assessed the predator's movements, leading the aliens to natural cover, using fallen trees and rocks to block the creature's path. He improvised traps with branches and stones, creating barriers that slowed the predator's advance. One by one, he guided the frightened aliens to safety, never once losing his calm. By the time the predator finally left, exhausted or confused, the aliens were shaken. Their confidence was gone, replaced with awe and a growing respect for the human skill. They had relied on gadgets and devices only to find that instinct, observation, and adaptability were far more effective in the unpredictable wild. The group found a small clearing to rest for the night. The human cadet shared water and simple advice on maintaining warmth, watching for predators, and conserving energy. Many of the aliens sat in silence, reflecting on their mistakes. For the first time, some admitted, even to themselves, that the humans' methods were superior. Fira, usually sharp-tongued and sarcastic, finally spoke. I didn't believe it yesterday, but today I see. You move through this world with purpose, without devices, without shields, yet you survive. The human cadet shrugged lightly. Experience teaches you what you cannot imagine. Technology helps, but it cannot replace awareness. Sirek, still glowing faintly in exhaustion, nodded slowly. It isn't humbling. We thought we were prepared, but this is different. You are different. The human cadet said nothing, simply resting and keeping watch. He knew the trek was far from over. Varela 9 would continue to test them, with new challenges, predators, and hazards. But he also knew that the lessons the aliens had learned today would stay with them. Pride and arrogance were dangerous. Adaptability, observation, and calm thinking could save lives. As night fell, the forest around them came alive with sounds. Rustling, distant cries and the soft drip of water from leaves created a symphony of the wild. The aliens huddled close to one another, reflecting on their failures, their reliance on technology, and the quiet human who had guided them through every danger. By the firelight, some of the aliens admitted silently or aloud that survival was not just about strength or intelligence. It was about experience, awareness, and courage. The human cadet lay on his back, watching the stars peek through the canopy, thinking about tomorrow's challenges. He knew the ridge would grow even more dangerous, and that the aliens would need to learn quickly if they hoped to survive. The first lessons had been harsh, but invaluable. The alien cadets had seen firsthand why Deathworlders were feared and respected across the galaxy. A single human cadet without gadgets or shields had navigated terrain, avoided predators, and saved lives. The aliens were beginning to understand something vital. On a death world, technology could fail, but instinct, skill, and courage rarely did. And so, as the night deepened and Varela 9's wild symphony continued, the alien cadet slept fitfully, each dreaming of lessons learned the hard way. The human cadet remained alert, ready for the challenges that awaited with the dawn. The next morning, the sky over Varela 9 was dark and heavy with clouds. The wind swept through the Redspire Ridge, carrying the scent of wet stone and distant wildfires. The alien cadets awoke with a mix of nervousness and anticipation. Yesterday's lessons had shaken their confidence, and today's exercise promised to be even more difficult. Commander Lyra stood at the edge of the ridge, her sharp eyes scanning the group. Today, she said, you will face a full survival scenario. The terrain will test your endurance, predators will test your instincts, and the unexpected will test your courage. This is your final evaluation. The alien cadets exchanged uneasy glances. Some still carried a trace of arrogance, but the reality of the death world was beginning to take hold. They had seen their gadgets fail, their shields falter, and their confidence crumble. They had watched a single human cadet navigate dangers they had only imagined surviving with technology. The human cadet, calm and composed, adjusted his small pack and surveyed the ridge. His movements were measured, precise, and deliberate. He knew the challenges ahead. This final exercise would test not only skill but composure under pressure, a quality many of the aliens lacked. The group moved out, entering a dense, fog-filled forest. Visibility was low and the ground was uneven. The air was thick with moisture, making every step slippery. The aliens immediately activated their sensors and shields, relying on technology to guide them. The human cadet, however, moved without any devices, listening to the subtle sounds of the forest, feeling vibrations in the ground, and observing faint trails of movement. As they progressed, the first challenge appeared. A fast-moving river blocked their path. Yesterday's lessons had shown the aliens how unpredictable Varela 9 could be, yet many still attempted to cross using only their devices. Some jumped from rock to rock only to slip and fall into the cold, rushing water. Energy shields flickered and failed under the wet conditions. The human cadet assessed the river carefully. He tested the current, examined each rock for stability, and identified a series of natural stepping points. With simple gestures, he guided the alien cadets, showing them how to use the environment to their advantage. One by one, they crossed safely. Though several were wet and shaken, the group continued deeper into the forest. Shadows shifted and strange noises echoed around them. Suddenly a predator, a massive, multi-legged creature with glowing eyes, emerged from the fog. The alien cadets panicked, activating weapons and shields. Their movements were frantic, uncoordinated, and ineffective. The human cadet reacted instantly. He led the aliens to cover behind thick tree trunks and large rocks. Using the terrain cleverly, he created obstacles that slowed the predator's approach. A few quick, precise moves and the creature was confused, retreating into the fog. The aliens watched in disbelief. Once again, technology alone could not save them. Careful observation, quick thinking, and courage did. As the fog lifted slightly, the cadets approached a steep cliffside. The path was narrow and dangerous, with loose rocks threatening to give way beneath their feet. Several alien cadets hesitated, unsure of how to proceed. They tried to rely on levitation devices or hovering boots, but the terrain was unstable and their technology faltered. The human cadet stepped forward, testing each foothold carefully. He used handholds carved naturally into the cliff, distributing his weight evenly. He guided the aliens slowly and safely, demonstrating that patience and awareness were more effective than over-reliance on devices. Suddenly, a rock slide began high above. Rocks tumbled rapidly toward the group. The aliens scrambled, shields flickering, some panicked and fell. The human cadet moved calmly, guiding several cadets to safety using large rocks and trees as barriers. He predicted the rockfall, moving with precision and speed. The alien cadets realized they had underestimated not just the environment, but the skill and composure of the human. By midday, the group entered a valley filled with dense, thorny bushes and twisting vines. Visibility was almost zero. Strange, hissing creatures lurked among the foliage. The aliens fumbled with sensors and scanning devices, often triggering false alarms or failing to detect real threats. The human cadet moved carefully, listening to the subtle sounds of movement, noticing patterns in the foliage and predicting the creature's paths. When one creature lunged at an alien cadet, he reacted instantly, using a fallen branch to block it and guiding the cadet to safety. Time and again, he demonstrated calm under pressure, moving efficiently through the dense undergrowth. Several aliens began to follow his example. They slowed down, observed the environment, and copied his careful methods. For the first time, many were forced to admit that instinct, awareness, and experience could outperform even the most advanced technology. As afternoon approached, the cadets reached the edge of a canyon. A narrow, unstable bridge of rock spanned the chasm. Strong winds whipped across the gap, threatening to throw anyone off balance. The alien cadets hesitated, unsure how to proceed. Many tried to hover across or rely on shields, but the gusts disrupted their balance. The human cadet stepped forward, testing the bridge carefully. He shifted his weight with each step, using natural formations to maintain balance. He guided the aliens across one by one, demonstrating that controlled movement and observation were more reliable than overconfidence or gadgets. Halfway across, a flying predator swooped down from the cliffs above. Several aliens panicked, raising shields and firing at it, but their shots missed. The human cadet reacted immediately, using the environment to his advantage. He positioned himself between the predator and the aliens, creating obstacles with rocks and branches. The creature retreated, confused and unable to strike effectively. The aliens watched in awe. Their arrogance had been replaced with respect and for some a hint of fear. They had relied on technology, only to find it insufficient against the raw unpredictability of the death world. A single human without advanced devices had guided them safely through multiple dangers. As the sun began to set, the group found a large cave to rest. The human cadet checked the perimeter, ensuring no predators were nearby. The aliens, exhausted and humbled, followed his lead. For the first time, they sat quietly, reflecting on the lessons of the day. Fira spoke softly, almost in awe. I didn't believe it yesterday, but today I see. Your skills, your awareness. They are remarkable. Without shields, without gadgets, you survive. The human cadet nodded. Experience teaches what training cannot. Technology helps, but it does not replace awareness, patience, or courage. Sirek added, his voice low and steady. We thought ourselves superior. We trained harder, we planned better. But the planet teaches its own lessons. We underestimated humans. The night was cold and strange sounds echoed through the cave. The aliens huddled together, some still tense, but all aware that the human cadet had proven their point. Survival was not about gadgets or arrogance. It was about skill, awareness, and courage, honed through experience. The human cadet lay down beside the fire, eyes scanning the dark outside. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but he was ready. The alien cadets, humbled by the day's events, were beginning to understand why Deathworlders were respected and feared across the galaxy. They had learned the first true lesson. Technology alone could not conquer the wild. Virella 9 had tested them, and the human had guided them through, teaching without words that true strength came from within. Arrogance could not survive here. Only skill, patience, and courage would. By the time the stars appeared through the cave's opening, the aliens were silent, many of them reflecting on the human cadet's actions. Pride had been replaced by respect. The lessons of the day would stay with them far longer than any device or shield could. And in the quiet of the night, the human cadet remained alert, aware of every sound, every shift in the shadows, knowing that the planet's final challenges were still ahead. The dawn broke over Virella 9 with a cold, pale light. The forest and cliffs of the Red Spire Ridge were cloaked in mist, making the landscape even more treacherous. The alien cadets stirred from their sleep, each one tired, bruised, and quietly nervous. They had survived the previous days, but today's final challenge would test them as never before. Commander Lyra stood at the entrance of the cave, her eyes scanning the cadets. "This is the ultimate test," she said. "You will traverse the final sector of the ridge, facing environmental hazards, predators, and challenges that cannot be predicted. Only those who adapt, think, and act wisely will succeed. Remember, the Death World does not forgive mistakes." The alien cadets straightened, trying to hide their apprehension. Yesterday had humbled them, but a stubborn part of them still hoped their technology and training could carry them through. The human cadet, calm and composed, adjusted his light pack and surveyed the path ahead. He knew the dangers, unpredictable terrain, sudden weather changes, and predators lurking everywhere. Yet he moved with quiet confidence, relying on experience and instinct rather than gadgets. As they entered the forest, the fog thickened, reducing visibility to a few meters. The air was damp, the ground uneven, and the sounds of distant predators echoed through the trees. The aliens immediately activated shields and scanning devices, but the human cadet did not. He stepped carefully, testing each surface, observing the subtle signs of animal activity, and listening to the faint vibrations of the forest floor. Within minutes, the first hazard appeared, a river swollen from recent rains. The water rushed violently, carrying debris downstream. Many aliens panicked, debating whether to use levitation devices, hover boots, or energy shields. A few tried to jump across rocks only to slip into the frigid water. Their devices struggled to stabilize them, leaving them exposed. The human cadet assessed the river quickly. He noticed stable rocks along the edge and a fallen tree partially bridging the current. With calm precision, he crossed first, testing each step carefully. Then he guided the alien cadets, showing them how to use the environment to their advantage, conserving energy and avoiding risk. One by one, the aliens made it across, soaked but safe. As they continued, the terrain became steeper. Jagged cliffs rose on either side, and the ground beneath their feet was loose and unstable. A distant roar echoed through the cliffs. A predator was approaching. The alien cadets panicked, trying to activate shields and weapons simultaneously. Their movements were chaotic and uncoordinated. The human cadet acted instantly. He used natural cover, leading the aliens to a safe zone behind rocks and twisted trees. Using simple, clever tactics, he distracted the predator and created obstacles in its path. The creature, confused by his actions, retreated without attacking. The aliens watched in disbelief. Once again, a human cadet without advanced technology had outperformed them all. Halfway through the final sector, the group reached a narrow canyon with sharp drops on either side. The path was barely wide enough for one person at a time. Strong winds swept through the canyon, threatening to throw anyone off balance. The alien cadets froze, unsure how to proceed. Many tried to hover across using technology, but the gusts disrupted their balance. The human cadet walked carefully, testing each foothold and using handholds naturally carved into the rock. He guided the aliens one by one, demonstrating that controlled movement, awareness, and patience were far more effective than reliance on devices. Even the most arrogant cadets had no choice but to follow his lead. Suddenly, a large flying predator swooped down from the cliffs above. Its claws were sharp and its eyes glowed in the dim light. Several aliens panicked, raising shields and firing weapons haphazardly. Their attacks missed and their shields flickered under the stress of the wind. The human cadet reacted immediately. He positioned himself between the predator and the aliens, using rocks and branches to block the creature's attacks. He moved calmly and efficiently, avoiding danger while guiding the cadets to safety. The predator, confused and unable to strike effectively, finally retreated into the mist. The alien cadets stared, stunned. They had witnessed what they could not understand. A single human using only skill, awareness, and courage had kept them safe in a situation that would have overwhelmed them even with technology. Their arrogance had been replaced with respect and for some with awe. As they moved further, a sudden rainstorm began. The wind howled and the forest floor turned to mud. Visibility dropped even further. Many aliens struggled, their gadgets failing under the harsh conditions. The human cadet, however, moved steadily. He used natural cover, maintained balance, and conserved energy. He guided the aliens through the storm, teaching them simple techniques for survival in real time. By late afternoon, they reached a steep cliff with a narrow ledge winding around it. The drop below was dizzying, and the rocks were slick with rain. The alien cadets hesitated, unsure how to proceed. Some attempted to rely on levitation devices or shields, but the wind and rain made these tools unreliable. The human cadet stepped forward, testing the path carefully. He moved slowly and deliberately, adjusting his weight, using the cliff wall for balance and ensuring each step was secure. One by one, the aliens followed, realizing that patience and awareness could succeed where technology faltered. Finally, the group reached a wide clearing at the edge of the ridge. The sun broke through the clouds, casting light on the valley below. The exercise was complete. The aliens, exhausted and humbled, looked at the human cadet with newfound respect. Commander Lyra approached, nodding approvingly. "You have all completed the exercise, but it is clear who truly excelled. The human cadet demonstrated skill, awareness, and courage far beyond what technology or controlled training can teach. You have all learned something vital. Survival on a death world requires more than devices. It requires experience, patience, and instinct." The aliens remained silent, reflecting on the lessons of the past days. Many had thought themselves superior, confident that their intelligence and advanced tools would see them through. Yet they had been humbled by the abilities of one human cadet who had survived where many would have failed. Fira stepped forward, her usual arrogance replaced by sincerity. "I underestimated you," she said quietly. "Your skill, your calm. It is remarkable. We have learned that strength is not just about technology or training. It is about experience, awareness, and courage." Sirek nodded in agreement. "We thought ourselves prepared. We were wrong. Today we understand why humans from death worlds are respected throughout the galaxy. Your ability to survive, to lead, and to adapt is extraordinary." The human cadet nodded modestly. "I only followed the lessons the world teaches. Pride and arrogance can be dangerous. Observation, patience, and courage can save lives. That is all." The alien cadets looked at him, silently acknowledging the truth of his words. They had faced predators, unstable terrain, and unpredictable weather, relying on technology that often failed. Yet this human cadet had navigated it all, demonstrating skill that came not from gadgets, but from experience and instinct. As the sun set over Varela 9, the cadets began their journey back to the academy. The human cadet walked at the front, calm and steady. The alien cadets followed, more respectful than ever before. Some whispered among themselves, sharing lessons they would never forget. By the time they reached the academy, the alien cadets had changed. Their pride had been tempered by experience. Their respect for humans, especially Deathworlders, had grown immensely. They realized that no amount of advanced technology could replace the qualities that made humans exceptional: courage, adaptability, and resilience. Commander Lyra gathered the cadets for a final briefing. "Today you have learned why Deathworlders are legendary. They survive worlds that others cannot. They endure challenges that seem impossible, and they teach lessons that no classroom or device can provide." The human cadet stood quietly listening. He knew that the aliens would carry these lessons with them. They would never forget the challenges of Varela 9, nor the realization that survival is not just about strength or intelligence, but about experience, patience, and courage. As night fell, the academy glowed softly against the dark sky. The alien cadets returned to their quarters exhausted but wiser. They had faced the death world and its lessons, guided by a single human cadet who had proven that survival was more than technology. It was a way of life. In the quiet of the night, the human cadet looked out over the ridge. The planet was harsh, beautiful, and unforgiving, but it had also shown him and the alien cadets something vital: the true power of experience, instinct, and courage. The aliens had laughed, doubted, and mocked at first, but by the end they had learned the hard way why Deathworlders do not need training. They survive because they adapt, endure, and persevere, qualities that no gadget or simulation can teach. And as the stars shone above Varela 9, the human cadet knew that the aliens would carry these lessons with them across the galaxy. For on Deathworlds, arrogance dies quickly, but skill, courage, and resilience endure forever.